What's up, everyone? I'm Caleb also known as NFL Caleb 22, and this is Betting the NFL, our 50th edition of Betting the NFL. Very special for us. Been here for 50 weeks, about I think 2 seasons now. Just betting our money. I think maybe 2.5 seasons. I'm not sure. Whenever 50 episodes was ago, but we've bet a lot of money so far. Won a lot, we've lost a lot. But as always, I'm here with my co-host DWeezy. What's going on, man?
Man, just another week getting back at the grind, being that 50th episode, it sure as hell doesn't feel like it. And that seems to be how every NFL season goes. Um, you know, the NFL schedule is definitely a 365-day schedule. You're talking about NFL basically year round. So that schedule, when we got the games in front of us, just seems to fly by. And we're gonna try and take advantage of the lines and the games coming up in this week. But you know, this is the 50th, and we're probably gonna be around for another 50 more.
Hopefully so, and hopefully we keep doing what we do on this show, and that is win you guys money. That is the goal, and that is what we're trying to do here. Um, and obviously make ourselves money as well. Uh, but I'm glad you guys have tuned in for this episode. I'm glad you've tuned in for all the other episodes. Um, and but before we get into this week, we have to go over what happened last week. And week number 5, I'll say the favorites in the underdogs both went 7-7, 500 there, and that pretty much evened things up because overall they've been 37, 36, and 5. So pretty even when it comes to favorites and underdogs. No really trends or edge you can really find in that number. Home teams have been doing so well. It's been road teams been dominating the entire season so far through 5 weeks. They went 6-8 last week. Overall, home teams are 32, 41, and 5. And then the unders just keep hitting. If you're betting the unders this season, you're making a bag because the unders went 9-5, 30, and then the overs unders 34 overs, 44 unders. So have a huge edge when it comes to over and under totals. But out of those numbers, what stands out to you?
I think really what's noticeable is the continue. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. This under trend has seemed to continue, and in the betting world, if there's a trend out there, you got to try and jump on it, or at minimum follow it. You definitely don't want to stand in front of that train. So I think this is reflected some by last week I was talking about a lot of the top teams or well, I should say the top offenses that were still utilizing the run to their advantage and running the ball a lot. So that runs clock. You keep that clock ticking, and you're talking about lesser number of possessions, even maybe not on a major scale, but something like that. When you're talking about an under, depending on where the number's at, it can take just a handful of plays going, the right way. And in this instance, with an under, you're most likely talking about the play going the wrong way, or points not being put up, drives not being continued as much, or as far downfield, potentially threatening for points. So there's definitely a number of factors that go into it, but I think we're seeing a little bit of regression from some of the passing driven offenses that we've seen in years past. And, that's reflected some by, these unders.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think you should just keep hitting on those unders because majority of the time you're gonna win. Um, yeah, and it surprised me that these road teams just keep winning against the spread. They've been doing really well. Um, definitely should uh, keep going with that trend. I think that trend is going to continue with these road teams um, being able to cover a lot. I think that's another trend that will continue as well. But next we will get to, next we will say what's up to Adelia first. What's going on? And thank you. Glad glad for the 50 episodes. But now we would get to the biggest upset of the week, and that came on right on Thursday night football. Bears +6 versus the Commanders. Bears win it 40-20. After almost a whole entire year, Bears finally got a win. The first win of the season comes on a road Thursday night game, which is hard to do because usually road teams. But like we've seen that we mentioned the road teams, winning against the spread, and this is a big example of that. Even on the Thursday night games where they usually don't show up, they showed up in a big way. They played pretty desperate as a winless team. They came out there. They pretty much dominated Washington. They looked pretty bad. They got 40 points scoring them. Main thing was, DJ Moore just goes off. 8 receptions, 230 yards, 3 touchdowns. And that's just the way the Bears play. They needed the win. They were tired of being winless, and Washington defense just couldn't handle them. They looked like a disaster, and they didn't know how to stop DJ Moore. And yeah, that's how it ended up being the biggest upset of the week.
Yeah, there's definitely no question. Your near touchdown favorite, you win by not only double digits but nearly a triple digit deficit. They just went out there and put a good old fashioned whooping on them. I'm not shocked by the talent out of DJ Moore. Being a Panthers fan, I saw when you spend enough time watching a player, you can see things like he has the ability to create space. He has the ability to make people miss. I won't sit here and say like, oh, he's going to be the greatest ever or the greatest this or that, but he's definitely a top-notch wide receiver at the NFL level. And a game like this reflects this. I mean, I don't care what the plays were. I don't care how you got the ball in his hands. You put up those kinds of numbers, it's clear that you're a threat. And, a lot of people, this is what they hope to see out of the Chicago offense coming into this season, because that's the potential capabilities a threat like DJ Moore brings. And, we finally got to see that in this season. And, yes, this was the biggest upset, but I do think it's worth shouting out. Steelers in their game against the Ravens. I
Yeah.
believe it was -4. So not the biggest upset technically, but I think when you look at the teams and where they were positioned in this early season stretch, um, a lot of people had the Ravens favored in this game. I was riding with the Ravens, and clearly, I found myself on the wrong
I
side
told you
as the
about that.
underdog.
I told you.
Yeah, hey,
Stay away from the Ravens. Stay away from them. They'll burn
yep,
you.
and it burned me. That's for sure. But so that's definitely worth a shout out as far as upset, because sometimes it's not always the necessarily the spread or the point differential when you're talking about a big upset. And so I definitely think that Steelers game is worth a shout out. At minimum, probably one of the bigger upsets so far in this early season. But it's definitely there's no overlooking Chicago going out there and whooping on a team by 20 points when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think those were two upsets for different reasons. I mean, obviously you see the offense explosion and the Bears game, but then you see the defense kind of dominate. The Steelers defense dominate the Ravens, and I think that's what was most surprising about that upset. So big upsets for two opposite reasons there. But next we will get to the bad beat of the week, and it wasn't a bad beat for me because I was on the good side of this bet, my only good side, because it wasn't a very good week. But we'll get to that. Um, but it was the only bright spot of my week. But I was on the good. But if you were on the other side, it was rough for you because it was the Atlanta Falcons -2.5 versus the Houston Texans, and they win, but they do not cover 19-21. And it just always sucks. You have that hook, and that hook, can sometimes help you, like it did for me, and it can sometimes hurt you badly. And if you want the Falcons, it definitely hurt you in this one. Falcons had a 6 point lead with less than 7 minutes to go in the game, and then their defense just wasn't able to hold up on the Texans drive. They were able to go down, score a touchdown. They took the lead for a little bit, but then the Falcons end up getting the ball back. They come back, they kick the winning field goal, they win, but they do not cover, and it's just by a half a point. That hook got the Falcons betters in this one.
Yes, depending on where you got this number at, it was definitely a cold, you know, just a cold loss, depending on what side you were on. Um, you know, it I would say, that's it's definitely a bad beat for sure. But then you also got a situation where if you were taking the Patriots in their game in any way, shape, or form, there was just no chance of that game was over early.
Yeah, that was a bad one as well, for different reasons. I mean, you never like when you just make a bet and then you're just like, oh, well, I got to throw this away right at halftime. But sometimes that happens,
Shoot,
and
I'd have to go and double check, but I don't even think you had anything live at halftime. I mean, the way that
yeah,
game was looking, yeah. I mean, did
yeah, that
they do anything right? There's a lot going wrong in New England apparently, because this is not the type of stuff you see out of not just a Belichick team, but any New England team in the past, almost 15 years. So, you know,
yeah,
might be something to potentially capitalize moving forward in some situations.
yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely a team that you can fade going forward. Just looking at how bad they have played. Um, but next we will get to my own record and both our records actually. I had one of the worst weeks of betting I've ever had. I went 1-4. Really, really terrible. I don't know what happened this week. I mean, I didn't know I don't know what to make of the games, man. Just it went terrible for me. I mean, and it wasn't really because I had chance. I was live for like most of my games. Like the cards were hanging in there. They were right there. The Rams were right there, and it was all at the same time because they were all the afternoon games, and they were all kind of like still live right up close games like all the way to like the third quarter, and then like the fourth quarter kind of just got me, and then those teams kind of pulled away, and then I just kind of lost them all at like the exact same time. So that was horrible. So yeah, I already talked about my only win, which was the Falcons Texans because I had Texans 2.5, but that was really it. Everything else was pretty bad. Um, but did you have a best pick? How did you do?
Um, Coming in at 2 and 3, you know, it's hard to come up with a best pick in a losing week. Just trying to move into this next week because like you said, sometimes you just find yourself on the wrong side of the lines, and the easiest thing to do is just move into the next one.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really talk a lot of good, but we'll talk about more bad. And that is my worst pick of the week. And I hate to say it. I really hate to say this one, but it makes me cry. Cowboys, Niners. We all know what happened. We know what happened. We know it. They get their asses
Yep.
kicked. Um, Yeah, I really believed it. I really was confident. Like I just don't pick the always pick the Cowboys every week. I pick them when I feel confident that we will cover the spread. I thought us getting, that 3.5. I thought that was a good enough spread for me to bet on that one. And I thought we'd go in there looking for some revenge after the last two games against them. We wouldn't, do the stupid stuff that we've been doing. I don't, I thought we would have learned from our mistakes in the past, and I just don't know how we did worse. Like I thought we had a better team, and we did worse. Like that's the crazy part about it. Is I mean, my God, I mean, we couldn't stop Kittle, even though we knew that was going to be a problem, but we just did nothing to stop him. We did nothing about him. Offense looked horrible. We didn't even have to worry about the red zone problems because we never got in the red zone. Um, their defense was uh, just getting after Dak. He was holding on the ball. He was getting sacked. He didn't know what to do. He was making horrible decisions. Receivers just couldn't get open at all. And yeah, I mean, I'll go more in depth. Watch. I'll go more in depth on this game. Watch Fridays, 3 o'clock. Good friends, better rivals. I have to talk more about this terrible game if you want my full analysis on it. But yeah, what did you think, and what was your worst bet of the week?
I definitely thought that at least that game between the 49ers and the Cowboys would have been closer. We saw that turnover bug come about, and that's been the issue with Prescott and interceptions, and that came about last night. And clearly, in a couple of those situations, you don't get the greatest angle from the broadcast view, but it's a little bit of a head scratcher on a couple of those, and where he was throwing the ball. But like you said, the team just seemed to play worse than they had all season, and of course, some of that might is due to the talent on the 49ers side of the ball. But at the same time, you saw this offensive line a little bit healthier than what it's been. Um, but their inability to stop them on defense, they were in no way able to lean on that run game. You saw them try to even in a little bit later parts of the game, and just weren't able to be productive enough to be able to stick with it given the deficit. Because and really at no point in time were they able to stop the 49ers on offense. Brock Purdy was able to go out there. They were at times are able to get pressure on him, but for the most part, he was able to navigate the pocket and pick apart the defense in the zone and be able to find those players downfield as they were getting open. Christian McCaffrey was able to run fairly free in the backfield when he got the ball, and that's a dangerous player to, you know, you give him a head start and a little bit of space, and he can do a lot with it. So yeah, it. I definitely didn't think it would be a blowout, but I also didn't think that the Saints would go and blow out the Patriots the way they did, and we saw a historic like just whooping put on Belichick, and the books had that as a very very small spread game. So clearly, I wasn't alone in thinking that this game would be closer than it was. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty sure at no point in time outside of the opening kickoff, this game was probably not close because you don't win. What was it, 34-0 without you just dominated the entire game. Yes, the Patriots offense has underproduced and been fairly bad for the most part throughout this season. But I definitely didn't expect the Saints offense to go out and put up the points in the fashion that they did. Um, so definitely probably my bad beat for the week as I find myself on the other side of that whooping that the Patriots took.
Yeah, that was a bad. That was a terrible game. This complete domination by the Saints. And the Patriots, like I said, they don't look good at all. But that will wrap up week number 5. But before we get into week number 6, we like to help you guys out. So if you can help us out by subscribing to the channel, hitting the like button, and if you really want to help us out, you can join our Patreon, and the link of that is in the description down below. Um, so yeah, um, as well as you want to leave a comment um, down in the comment section, we would leave a question there. We definitely answer it when we can. All right, now we will get into our bounce back week, a week number 6, hopefully a bounce back week. Uh, and I'm going to start off. I'm going to go Washington at the Falcons. I'm taking the Falcons minus 2.5. Obviously, we just saw how terrible, awful the Washington Commanders looked on that Thursday night game. Falcons have a good win. Um, they look like they're back on track. Getting a nice win this past week. They got some playmakers. Bijan looks like a good playmaker. Ritter looks a little bit better. He threw for 329 last weekend, and you know Washington just gave up 40 points to the Bears. I mean that was pretty awful. Their defense looks pretty awful. So I think the Falcons with their playmakers on offense, I think they can definitely take advantage of them. In their defense, I think the Falcons defense can hold somehow and the Washington offense. Um, and I think Ritter will do just enough to get the win here, and I think that's all they need to do is win because it's not a huge spread, it's just 2.5 points. So as long as they can get a win at home, I think that'd be enough, and I'll take I'll lay the 2.5 points.
Yes, this was a game I was potentially looking at. I did stay off of it overall, um, because yeah, essentially the Washington Commanders are playing into the Falcons' hand. You're expecting a bit of a lower scoring game, um, and that works into the Falcons' favor. Now they have shown throughout the early part of the season that they won't necessarily be able to keep up in a high scoring game, but if you allow them to run the ball, control the ball, um, it's going to be a question: can the Commanders get any sort of real pressure on Ritter? One game performance, he did his thing, and it'll be a question of can he repeat that. So for me, I stayed off this game because honestly, I think it could go either way. And you having a coach in Ron Rivera who's dealt with the Atlanta Falcons a lot over the course of his history. Um, me personally, I'd stay off this one in general.
All right.
Now moving into my first pick, I'm gonna be going with Detroit Lions as they go down to Tampa to take on the Buccaneers, -3 on the spread. Um, this Lions offense throughout the course of the season so far has really been producing, and I do not think the Buccaneers defense is going to be able to slow them down. The Lions are 4-1 against the spread so far this season, and with the number where it's at only -3, you know, I would have this number closer to 5 or 6. Um, so being able to get -3 as they go down to Tampa, I'm definitely going to jump on that.
I have this game as well, but I am on the other side. I'm
Ooh,
going to take
back
the
in
three and a
Baker
half
again.
points.
Hmm.
I am. I've backed him a few times this season. It's worked out for the most part. The Bucks are 3-1 against the spread this season, so they've been doing pretty good for me. And I'm going to back them again this week. I mean, the only loss was against the Eagles, and we know how good the Eagles are. So I think they can do that. And you talked about you don't think their defense can stop them. I do think their defense can stop them. They have the seventh ranked scoring defense in the NFL. They've held 3 of their 4 opponents 18 points. So I definitely think that their defense can stand up against the Lions offense, especially when you have a questionable St. Brown, you have a questionable Jameer Gibbs. So those are two weapons that are that might may not show up. We'll see on game day. Um, I think this is just one of the home dogs. Just the best home dog I like this week. Getting the 3.5 at home. The Bucks coming off a bye. I think they're ready rested up. Um, for this game, and I think the major difference in this game is the Bucks will be wearing their creamsicle uniforms, and I just think that's just going to give them a whole ton of boost right there. I mean, this those orange uniforms, that's going to make a world of difference, and that's how they're going
Oh
to cover
yeah,
the spread.
I'm definitely winning this one just off pure gag factor. The fashion police will not allow the sports gods to let me lose on this one. So sorry, but yep, in the bag. All right, moving into
Yeah.
my
Second,
second pick. Going to the Philadelphia Eagles -7 as they take on the New York Jets. We've seen, there was a lot of high hopes for the Jets. Hope they, clearly thought it was going to be Aaron Rodgers at the helms. That's not the case. And with Zach Wilson, we're seeing basically exactly what we saw last year. And with the Philadelphia Eagles coming into town, I expect them not only to be leaving 6-0, but also to be covering the spread. I, I don't the Jets defense has performed better, but I do not think they'll be able to keep up with the offensive attack of the Eagles in this game. And there's a few double digit spreads out there. This isn't one of them. Only got to cover a touchdown. I definitely think the Eagles win by double digits in this game. So I'm be -7 on the spread.
yeah, I mean, I definitely think the Eagles will win this game, but can they cover? That's where I'm kind of staying away from this game. I don't know if they can. Um, I think they just can build off of some momentum that they got from the win last week. Not saying they're gonna look great, but if they can just give Brees Hall the ball, he looked great in the game last week. So if they can do that, they can keep it close. But I definitely see the Eagles winning this game. I just don't know by how much, and that's why I stayed off this one.
Well, can you build
But
much momentum off of beating Denver? And please
I
don't beat
think
me up,
I
Adelia.
think for more from just the score, how much points they scored, I think you can build off of that. 31 points. I mean, that's pretty tough, even though it is against the Broncos defense gave up 70. So it's not saying a whole lot, but I think it is I guess just more of a morale booster because their offense has been so bad, in the first few weeks. So I think you can just build off like, okay, we can do something. We can score touchdowns, that type of thing. But I'll get to my next pick, and that is the Seattle Seahawks +3 at the Cincinnati Bengals. Burrow looked healthier, but it was against one of the worst defenses in the league versus the Cardinals. Um, but their defense, on the other hand, hasn't looked so good, giving up 20 plus points in 4 of their last 5 games. The Seahawks, I think that's where the Seahawks can get them. Is their defense or the Seahawks run game with Walker. I definitely be able to exploit that Bengals rush defense, which is 31st in the league. Seahawks also coming off a bye. I like teams off a bye. They're rested up. They're ready to go. Um, so I think they'll definitely be able to cover that 3 point spread on the road. We've seen, like we mentioned before, road teams seem to have it going this season. I'm going to play on that trend of road teams covering against the spread. Bengals terrible against the spread, 2-6-1. Last 9 games, Seattle 6-2 against the spread versus an AFC team. So they're pretty good against these uncommon opponents. So I like the Seahawks here.
Yeah, I'm riding with this exact same game. Seahawks getting the points. I'm getting 2.5, but like you said, I do like this team. They've been great against the spread, And as you mentioned, the Bengals have a very bad rush defense so far this year, which is a bit, counterproductive to what we've actually seen out of their defense the past couple of years.
Yeah, they've
But
actually been good.
yeah,
I
and
think.
so one thing is going to be a factor when it comes to playing Seattle. They are going to try and rush the ball, and with the talent that they have and the backfield that they they definitely have options to choose from. And so if you don't shut them down in the run game, that's definitely going to open up that play action pass and allow Metcalf and Lockett to go out there and work some of those zones, and find those holes in the defense and help open up that big play capability. Um, if we were talking about a more healthy 100% Bengals and Joe Burrow, I would definitely be on the other side of this one. It was something that I thought about going with the Bengals. Um, but I just don't like the way they've looked recently. Yes, they beat up on their opponent last week. I believe it was Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Um, but that's what you expected, and it's hard to put much weight into a game like that. And so I think this week will be a better test to what we might see out of the Bengals. Give a shout out to Jose from the
What's going on,
LBHT.
man?
What's going on? But
All
yeah, so
right, get
I
to
definitely, and I think the Seattle Seahawks
yeah.
are a very live upset in this game. If you want to jump on the money line,
Oh, all right, we'll get to your third pick.
all right. Mine. Well, no, that was my third pick. That's what I was saying.
Oh,
I'm
that
right
well,
there with
okay,
you with
okay.
your
So back to
third.
me.
Yep.
All right. I'll stick with again going with the road team's trend. I'm taking another road team here. And that is gonna be the team that just kicked our ass, and that is the 49ers, -7 at the Cleveland Browns. Um, we just played them. I just saw them play. And I just don't see any weaknesses with this team. I think they're just going to keep on dominating teams. They're going to keep on rolling. I'm going to keep on rolling with them, and I'm going to take them even laying the 7 points. Especially against a Browns team that relies on their run game a lot, and they don't have Chubb. They're going up against the third-ranked rush defense in the league, um, and then that will be forced to rely on Deshaun. Well, we don't even know if Deshaun Watson's going to play because he was held last
Well,
time.
I've
He didn't
actually
play.
I've heard reports that PJ Walker I'd have to double check. I won't say he's been confirmed as the starter, but I heard that at minimum he was taking reps in practices because as you're saying, Watson still hasn't practiced with the team, even though we've heard that he's been medically cleared. Now there eh, eh, can't none of us say if he's hurt, if he's able to go, because we don't know. We honestly don't know. It's
Yeah.
all speculation. But if he ain't out there, yes, you got to be with the 49ers because I'm right there with you. And I'm going to let you
All
finish up.
right.
But this is also my next play. So go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So, like I said, we don't know who the hell they're going to throw out there at quarterback. That's a major advantage to a team that's already the most dominant in the NFL already. Even if they keep it close somehow with their defense, because I mean the Browns have pretty good defense. They can maybe stifle them a little bit, but even if they do that, I think it's only for a certain amount of time, and then you'll see the 49ers kind of, um, you know, uh, 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 build on their lead and pull away eventually in the end, just like they did with the Giants and the Cardinals. It was close for a little bit, but those two inferior teams. But they ended up pulling away late and they covered the spread big time. So I don't think they have much of a problem covering just a 7 point spread here. And like I said, road teams looking good this season. So I'm going to go with that. With the Niners.
Yeah. And like I said, this is, I'm riding with this pick as well. spread this small, like I said earlier, there's a couple double digit spreads out there, but this ain't one of them. And, I'm a little shocked that we don't see it a little bit higher because, like you said, we just saw how dominant this team was. Um, and taking on the Cleveland Browns that have, a team that's for the most part kind of, I wouldn't say the expectations were high for the Browns, but they've kind of underperformed so far. And yes, not having Chubb out there in the running game is
With how
definitely,
much they paid Watson, I mean, I think it's definitely a disappointment.
man, that might be the fleece job of the century so far. Cause I mean, we got a clip of this man throwing a football backwards in an NFL game. Just saying. So that's a whole lot of money. But all right. And if anything else, that's a reason not to back the Browns in
Yeah.
this game whatsoever because, they're essentially taking on the number one team in the NFL right now. Um, you know, they're firing on all pistons. There's no side to this 49ers team that looks like anything less than a potential Super Bowl contender. And the Browns, unfortunately, get to go out there and stand in the way of this train. And -7, I definitely think that they'll win by it should be closer to double digits. Short of some late garbage time TD, I don't see any real scenario where this game
I
finishes
don't think that's going to
anything
help.
under. Yeah, that's what I'm
They're
saying.
going to be
Anything
far,
less than
far
a
ahead.
double digit spread, like I would I would be comfortable taking 10 point, giving up 10 points with the 49ers against the Browns. So, if you're only going to put that line at -7, yes, I'm going to definitely jump on the 49ers -7.
All right. So back to me.
Yep.
And I'll take my last pick. I'm going to go with the only team that gave me the win last week, and that is the Houston Texans. I'll take them again um, with that small spread there, 1.5 points that they're getting. Um, I bet them last week. I'm going to bet them again. Um, Saints had an impressive win, like you talked about, against the Patriots, but it was against the Patriots. So I don't think that's indicative of what the Saints team is actually like. I still think they're a team that they showed in the first few games who weren't very good on offense, that could not score points. They struggled to score points. They couldn't score more than 20 points in the first 4 games. I think they're more that team than they are the team that did what they did against Patriots. That's more that says more about the Patriots than what it says about the Saints. I still don't think Carr looked all that great. I think he was still pretty inaccurate, and I think the defense really took it to Mac Jones. But even though the Texans lost, they still covered. And I still think they still look pretty good. They had their chances to win that game. And CJ Stroud's been looking pretty well. He didn't really make huge mistakes in the game, and I don't think he's made huge mistakes in most of the game. I think as long as he still plays pretty efficiently, like he has been, then I think they definitely can win this game outright. Um, and he's shown that how well he's played. I mean, the fourth in passing in the NFL. So I think they can continue that going against the Saints. Houston 7-3 against the spread last 10 games. New Orleans 1-4-1 last 6. I definitely like the Texans this one.
I'm riding with this exact same pick, and I was riding with the Texans last week. Now, unfortunately, basically lost on the hook because I had the 1.5 instead of the 2.5. Uh, but you know, like I was saying last week, this team is playing free. They're not worried about. Not to say they're not worried about how they're gonna play, but they're not concerned about the outcomes. We're seeing C.J. Stroud go out there and perform well. I think a lot of people expected improvements out of this defense just based off of the new head coach.
Yeah,
I forget his first name, but Ryan's.
D'Amico Ryans.
yeah, D'Amico Ryans. You know, and if you're old enough, you know he was great. Well, he was definitely a top linebacker in the NFL. And he was with the 49ers last season, first year as a head coach. Defenses definitely seemed to take a step forward in that first year, and you got an offense that's been able to produce. And we saw last week, they needed Stroud to go out there and lead the offense in a late drive to put them ahead, and that's exactly what he did. Unfortunately, it was the defense that didn't stand up. Uh, and even still, it was a game where the defense might have not have been wasn't able to stand up at the end, but you only give up 22 points in the NFL game. Your defense was on point essentially all game. So, it was an unfortunate loss, but you're seeing a lot of good things out of this team. And yes, the Saints are coming off a big win, but there's a lot of question marks still surrounding this team and this offense specifically. Um, it's the defense that you question less when it comes to the Saints, and so will their defense be able to hold up? Um, I'm not so sure. You and me both, we weren't big on this Saints team, and I think Houston's going to come in for the upset and win outright, but I'm going to be riding with them on the spread, right there with you. And I believe, what was it? 3?
You got him at
Yeah,
3. I got him at 1.5. So I just got a small
it might
point
have been
spread there.
2. I was trying to pull it up. But yeah, I definitely like the Houston
Yeah.
Texans in this game. Um, Even as a dog, like I said, I think they can win outright. Let me
Yeah.
find. Yeah, 1 point. Yeah, they just give me the money line, them to win outright. Even the book
Yeah.
saying that this game is straight up, basically pick 'em. So, you know, it, I think that's evidence of Vegas and the books. They want to make Houston the favorite, but they're not quite ready to back them, and for whatever reason, they just gonna give it that slight shade. But
And I think it really has a lot to do with what the Saints did. It might have been just to pick them if the Saints didn't have that big victory.
that's a very strong possibility because a lot of times you see some of these numbers move uh less so based off you know I think it's fair to say that what we saw out of the Saints was more fluke like than what we're going to expect from week to week. So while there might have been some slight movement, um it's not anything major. But yeah, I definitely agree with you that could have some effect why the books have them, have the Saints as that slight favorite. And the Texans being the Texans, I doubt too many people out there are running to put money on the Texans.
Yeah, that's true. All right, is that all the bets you got?
Yep, that covers me.
All right. Well, we had 3 of the exact same games. Well, we had 4 of the same games, 3 of the exact same picks. So that's pretty rare. Um, we usually go a lot of different games most of the time, but well, that just tells you. I mean, you should really put your money down on. We both feel pretty confident on these games. Definitely should put your money down on those. Um, just go. I mean, we had some bad weeks, but I think this. It feels like a good week with all this agreement. It feels like a good week. So definitely get your bets in. Thank you all for watching this episode. Thank you for watching. If you've been here for the entire time of all these 50 episodes, I thank you for watching as well. We definitely appreciate it because that's what all we're trying to do is help you guys out win these bets and make some money. So like you can tell the people where they can find you. Do easy.
They can reach me here on YouTube at Backyard Action Media and on Twitter at The Yard Bets.
And you can find me at NFLKF22 on Instagram and Twitter. And you can find me on this channel on Fridays, 3 o'clock, doing good friends, better rivals, talking Cowboys and Giants. And it's going to be pretty fun. sad episode on Friday because we both lost. So you want to tune in for that for my tears. So so go ahead and do that. And I hope you guys all win your bets. So like I always say, let's get ready to make that money.